What is good, Lottery Stocks fam? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if you're new. Today, the SPY is looking heavy at 662.60, and we called out puts yesterday in the Discord server, as well as adding to them this morning. We are having a possible government shutdown tonight at midnight, and that is the news that everybody is watching for to see how it will affect the market. Now, most of the time, this is somewhat of a nothing burger for the market and usually gets resolved. However, we can't say for certain that this is always going to be the case. What I actually expect for tomorrow, I don't know necessarily what will happen with the news or chaos that is going on in the background. Nobody can tell for certain, but I honestly expect a red candle tomorrow on the SPY. Now, could I be wrong? Absolutely. I don't give financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I ultimately see weakness and a heavy market right now. I believe that the SPY will essentially come down to 658.80 or so, or 659.85. It will likely hold somewhere in this range. And if it doesn't, that's just more confirmation for lower. But right now, the long story short is that I have a very bearish bias in the very short term. However, I do believe that in next week's trading week, or maybe even sooner, Thursday, Friday, we may see a rebound, a sharp rebound, and us head back into a beautiful bull market. This little stall that is happening, I believe, is healthy, and it may take us a little bit lower, which I think is even more healthy than just going up from where we are trading at right now. Now, over 100,000 federal workers are set to formally resign tomorrow. This is another big catalyst for the market. And then last but not least, speaking of the overall market and just some additional news, President Trump commits to spending over $1 trillion on the military in 2026. That is a lot of money, and some other plays may end up doing pretty well from this, which we will possibly make a video on. Now, Japan 2-year bond auction draws the weakest demand ratio since 2009, which brings me to Japan government bonds 10-year yield coming up near that all-time highs again, still remaining in this uptrend, which is very aggressive, which puts a lot of pressure on the carry trade and on the swaps in our short squeeze plays. Now, I want to talk about the failure to delivers on GameStop and what is going on with the chart today, because we are red along with the S&P 500. GameStop has had the highest level of failure to delivers in a 3 consecutive span since Roaring Kitty's return in May of 2024. Now, that is not to say that these are the highest fail to delivers. They are the highest fail to delivers on the stock consecutively for 3 days, which is pretty interesting, seeing that GMEU was just placed back on the Reg SHO list, which was recently taken off the list. Now, pay attention to this. It was recently taken off the list about a week ago or a week and a half ago, right before quarterly ETF rebalancing. Now, what's interesting about GMEU is it's on and off the threshold list, so the rebalancing is a little bit different than another ETF that holds GameStop like XRT. And GMEU is actually a little bit different, which I didn't understand until I read into it a little bit more. And the quarterly ETF rebalancing doesn't work the same as XRT in the sense that they have to deliver real shares. It actually has to rebalance on a weekly basis. So now that GMEU is placed on Reg SHO, it means they don't really want to rebalance this week. Also, the lend pool is basically dried up on GMEU as well as GameStop. This is going to lead me into talking about XRT as well, but I want to show you that on the short time frame, GameStop's chart is looking a little bit weak coming into the trading day today. And I said on the short time frame, notice how there is a baby gap down here right around 2660. I've been calling for a retracement down to 2655 to 2660 before GameStop can possibly continue higher, and that is essentially what we are heading towards today. Also, at the end of the video, I forgot to mention, I'm going to tell you about a play that I just entered into for tonight, so you're going to want to watch the video all the way through. But I'm going to show you GameStop's chart on a couple of different time frames as to why it's a little bit scary where it's trading at right now, and I'm going to talk about that. One, we see GameStop on the daily time frame came all the way up to this trend line that we've talked about, And after this trend line, we would have a larger move up. This is it from a different perspective. But ultimately, we see that GameStop, when we test this zone, it is heavy resistance. We saw it back here. And shortly after, in December of 2024, we ended up selling off pretty hard all the way into April of 2025. Now, that's not to say that that will happen. But you can see the last time we came into this zone, we saw a large drop from June of 2024 all the way into August and September of 2024 as well. This isn't to say that we will see that long standing drop, because a couple of times we have broken out of it. Like if I zoom out, GameStop broken out of it by an additional 40% or so up here, by an additional 70% up here, even right here, an additional 6%, and then the most recent run up to 38, about an additional 25%. So who's to say GameStop won't break out of this? And that is not even to say that we won't break out of it at a larger degree. This is only stating that we are at a crucial level for GameStop, and we need to get above this. How will we get above this? Well, first, let me tell you what is bearish. What is bearish is that the XRT quarterly ETF rebalancing period already passed for September. So the next one is in December. So what does that mean? That means they will try to short and keep GameStop down by shorting through the ETF, which holds GameStop, which is XRT. Now, that ETF has about a 1,000% short interest. It's always been absurd, and it's on and off the threshold securities list, and we know why that is, or at least we can speculate. Nothing I say is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. So they are going to try and short it over there to keep the price down without having to deliver the warrants, because they're shorting the ETF. That's a crucial key thing to focus on. Now, what can trigger the move past several resistance levels? Well, some sort of catalyst, in which case I do believe we could possibly get very soon. There was a little bit of tin that I could have thrown in the video, but I didn't want to make the video too long because I may drop another one tonight for you guys. However, I do want to state this isn't the top resistance for GameStop's chart. If we look at several time frames, we see that GameStop is very likely to have a gap fill at 28.45, which indicates that this short-term rally isn't over, whether or not that we are at this hefty resistance level. I believe that gap will be filled. Secondly, there is another resistance level higher than that, right around $32, in which case the hedging will also get obscene, which I do believe will be hit. On top of that, we have the warrant exercise price at $32, in which case I believe at some point will be hit because of several different factors, and the fact that the bondholders will get warrants, etc., etc. What this tells me is that as pretty as this descending resistance is, we are made to be trading outside of it. We are made to be trading outside of it. That means that historically this trend line will likely be evaporated, which just means that that is very bullish for GameStop. This is all in my opinion. I don't give financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but it all leads that we should be trading outside of it pretty soon, especially with the catalyst that we are in. Now, a catalyst that we don't have yet that I do believe will likely occur is a buyback, a share buyback. I think Ryan Cohen is smart enough to do that. If he issues a share buyback, it raises the price above those warrants, and people exercise or whatever it may be, sell those warrants, right? This is, well, if they exercise, right, it's still a capital raise even with a share buyback, which just bids the price up, which just causes a lot of complications for short sellers on the way up. So it could almost be a forced short squeeze. I don't want to ramble too long on this, but there are a couple of possibilities that I wanted to point out and wanted to watch out for. I think shorts are fighting this move. However, I don't think that they are going to be able to withstand this move right now and withstand the fight. Also, as far as September 30th, people saying that Korean markets are forcefully doing this and that. If you didn't see my video on that, make sure to go watch that. It's not true. The compulsory liquidation, it's an adjustment for options contracts. They need to close options on today over in some of the Korean or foreign markets in order to manually adjust them for the warrant dividend. If they don't do that, if people don't close their options, then they will be paying a hefty fee. I covered all of that. So what is this? What is this going to do? Well, it's possibly going to cause sell pressure today, which is what we're seeing, and I believe is the main reason for this. September 30th on some foreign markets, options have to be closed and adjusted manually before that issuance date. Now, what this is going to do is people are going to close their call options. They're going to take profits. And that means that market makers Delta-Hedging, who were buying shares when people bought those calls and those calls went in the money, are now off-selling or offsetting by selling those shares on the market as those contracts are taking profits, which is dropping the price little by little. On top of that, 337,000 worth of IW, 337 million worth of IWM fills to deliver spotted on September 10th, the day after GameStop's earnings occurred, which actually has more to do with AMC than it does for GameStop, which I thought was pretty interesting. Speaking of AMC, we are still trading in this parallel channel. We couldn't necessarily break out of it, but I believe AMC's chart is still looking pretty bullish, building a long-term base here, prepping for a short squeeze. With the on-balance volume still basically at highs, this stock is definitely suppressed and held down. Even if I wasn't taking a look at this for 5 years, I could just tell even by looking at that. Just some fundamental news we recently talked about, the tariffs on movies, and then some other things that AMC has coming and their turnaround in their earnings. Everything is looking pretty good over here, even from a fundamental perspective. BlackBerry, I wanted to talk about it very quickly because we back here at 380 when it was below this trend line, we were talking about $4.80 coming, which was a dollar move to the upside. We actually got that into earnings and then after earnings, but now BlackBerry is looking even better by building a base off of this trend line, possibly prepping for another move up here, which would align with GameStop as well as AMC. Don't take BlackBerry off your radar just yet. Now, guys, tonight is Nike earnings, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I didn't double check since the weekend, but I believe tonight is Nike earnings. Tuesday, September 30th. I am playing Nike earnings. If you want to know which way I am playing Nike earnings, make sure to join the Discord. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to tell you guys which way I'm playing it. I am playing calls on Nike. I believe that Nike is going to go up, and if it does not go up, then that is okay. I will add more shares to my long-term portfolio, but I am betting on this company going higher. There is very, very high risk playing earnings, and if Nike cracks the support level around 68, this thing can enter a free fall, and we're at 68.99. We are basically sending a YOLO into this earnings tonight. So be very careful. I'm not recommending anything. I can't recommend anything. I can't tell you what to buy, hold, or sell, or what to do with your money. Everything I say is opinionated, and I assume that you are paper trading or not taking me literally. That is it, guys. I love you all. Thank you guys for watching. The top 2 links in the description are for my Discord server where you can join, talk stocks and crypto, see my trades. I post trade setups. We also have AI alerts that give a bunch of alerts, high success trade flow, analyst updates and upgrades, dark pool alerts, insider trade alerts, option sweeps, the list goes on and on. My pattern detection indicator is in the description down below. People are installing this and loving the indicator. That is it, guys. I love you all. God bless. Lottery Stocks out.